Right. So we can just pretty set enough. Hope everyone is doing great today. Okay, going to share my screen. I do this often, and I hope that by now, if you've been attending a whole lot of our webinars, you should know what I'm about to say now by heart. You should already know where I'm going to start and where I'm going to end, and pretty much just unmute yourself and recite the anthem with me. Maybe we should think about an item, Lamide. Think about an item anthem for Lane, and we can all recite that when we start our meetings. But anyways, good morning, good afternoon to you, good evening to you, wherever it is that you are. My name is Samuel. I'm a member of Lane, the city of Lane, and what we are is we're a community of MBA students, enthusiasts, and alumni. We're looking to leverage their MBA for a more politically and economically inclusive Africa. So what do we mean when we say, hey, we are trying to focus ourselves on making sure that the continent that we love does not lose its way eventually. Our vision is to build an inclusive Africa that is self-perpetuating. And we plan to do that by equipping many talented Africans with what we consider to be the best and the most viable track to becoming a leader, to becoming an enabler in the continent. So we do our best to help these talented Africans like you and I have access to the kind of opportunity that will allow them be financially self-sustaining in the first place, so that they don't have to worry about what to eat, what to wear, where to stay, and can invest that time and effort into thinking about what they can do in the next 10, 20, 40, 50, multiple generations for the continent. So what's our aims and objectives? How do we intend to reach that mission? One, we hope to empower young Africans by supporting 1,000 Africans in the top 150, 200 global MBA programs in 7 years. Well, out of those 1,000 Africans, we don't know how many people, but we're counting on at least 100 people or more who will take on more active roles when it comes to shaping the continent at large. Two, strengthen existing communal relationships amongst African MBA students. And we hope to do that by connecting majority of African MBA business clubs across 200 global MBA programs. And we plan to do that in 5 years. We believe that if we're able to connect these clubs together, we can rise with one voice and draw the attention of all stakeholders in the MBA program globally. You and I both know, and I know if we ask our guest today that what's the ratio of African students to the total number of international students, you barely will be able to count more than 20. Well, 20 is an overstatement. You barely would be able to count more than 5. In some cases, less than 10. And you look at the ratio of Africans in global MBA programs and the ratio to the number of Africans, and there's a disparity between both numbers when you compare it to China and India. We also hope to be a catalyst of Africa's financial independence by ensuring that the MBA enthusiast students and alums are well connected with recruiters and incubation programs across board. We want to do that to be able to ensure that their regular source of income is secured while they spend their time thinking more about to strategize the future of the continent in the next 100 years. The fourth one would be to bridge the gap between quality MBA education and talented Africans by creating a win-win partnership with many MBA programs across board. We hope to do so through our program currently called the MBA for Africa, where we invite admission officers from across many MBA programs to let us know what exactly it is they're looking for and help our members understand the process. The last one is to ensure that there's a continual pipeline of promising applicants by partnering with African universities, which we're quite excited about. The people we're dealing with, for instance, we concluded a part of our interview process for the mentorship program. And we're finding younger people applying to MBA programs, people that are now more knowledgeable and can now see the value of it even from a very young age. We hope to do that even more by pushing that age band to the undergrad days where they can begin to see that in 5, 6, 7 years, they're eventually going to want to get an MBA and they're well prepared for that. Our guiding principle is pretty simple. We want people who are selfless. We want people who celebrate diversity. We want people who are creative. We want people who will not marginalize or exclude any group or any people. Instead, in the presence of their commitment to Lane's vision, they will actively seek ways to carry other people along. And lastly, we want people who are accountable. We want people who understand that accountability is the obligation to explain, justify, and take responsibility for their actions. We want people who will not withhold responsibility from themselves or accountability from themselves or from Lane at all. So our requirement pretty simple. Be an African who knows what it takes to live in Africa. Be at least 20 years old, be self-motivated, an MBA enthusiast, applicant, student, or alum. And of course, be academically qualified for an MBA program. And feel free to join us at this link below, which I would say Franklin will paste in the chat, but I'm not sure if Franklin is here today. But anyways, we will share this link shortly for those who are not yet a part of our community. Oh yes, Alamde, thank you very much for that. On that note, I'll hand it over to our guests. Thank you very much for coming today. I know some people already, and I'm happy to see their faces, their multi-billion-dollar faces, like Chioma's face, and like Said's face. But that's awesome. And I'll hand it over to Chooks to take it on from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samuel. That was a very lovely introduction. Yeah, welcome everyone again to this edition of the webinar. Today promises to be an exciting time. We have a lineup of quality speakers who would kind of share their experiences of their lives as MBA candidates across several parts of the world. So without wasting much time, I'd like our panelists to introduce themselves, just to tell us a little bit about themselves and what they're up to currently. Anyone can go first.
Right, so if I can kick off, it's okay. So thank you so much, guys. This is actually a very beautiful initiative. Must first commend you guys for a great job done. Happy to see Samuel. Chuk has followed up for a number of weeks now, and I'm glad this happened today. So to be brief, again, I'm Said. I just finished my MBA program from McGill University in Montreal. Yeah, so that ran between 2019 and 2021. It was a very exciting experience. Before that, I was in Nigeria. I worked as a portfolio manager of one of the biggest pension funds in the country, in which role I managed like a $2 billion fund. Yeah, so that was really exciting. I'm a self-charter holder. I currently work with Sun Life Asset Management on the investment consulting team.
Thanks so much, Said.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Nice.
Okay, go on, Chioma.
Oh, okay, Izine, I didn't know you had joined. You can go for it, Izine.
Okay. Hi. Can you guys hear me properly?
Loud and clear.
Sure, if I.
Very well.
Okay, awesome. Hi. My name is Izine Onyeka. I'm currently at Cambridge George Business School. I'm currently in Cambridge right now. I am about to finish my MBA, and it will be done in September. Before the MBA, I worked with KPMG in Lagos, and I worked in the advisory unit for about 3 years. And then I decided to do the MBA to move from consulting. So I'm really happy to be here, and I hope that whatever we talk about will be helpful to you.
Thanks, Izine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chioma Wama. I'm a second year at Duke University Favour School of Business. Just 1 week away from wrapping up my internship with the Boston Consulting Group here in Dallas. Prior to FUPA, I was an engineer in Nigeria. My last role was at Schneider Electric, where I worked with the process automation unit. Happy to be here, happy to share my experiences, and great to meet you all.
Thanks so much, Chioma, and thanks to our panelists once again. So I think at this point, we'll just dive into the discussion for today. Today we will be addressing three broad topics, that is culture, recruiting, and lifestyle. And I think we'll start with culture. So my first question to our panelists today is, did you experience any cultural shock moving from Africa to your current location? And if you did, how did you manage to deal with that? Anyone can go first once again.
I can take
Okay.
Okay.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, now.
Okay, so I can take this one. I would say the first culture shock I hadn't even gotten to the US yet. I was in the UK where I wrote my professor an email saying, hey, I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss your class. Like I came with all this fear of, oh, I'm gonna miss your class. And really worried that it would impact my grades negatively. And the professor sent me a note, oh, I'm totally sorry about your experiences. I wish you good luck. Like it was so nice and pleasant. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's happening? I thought you'd be mad at me. So yeah, long story short, the culture shock, I wouldn't call it a culture shock, it was more of a culture difference with the interactions between the students and the professor, how the professors are so open, so welcoming, trying to make your life easy and everything. And then you as a student are just, working well with your professor to get things done. Yeah, that was it pretty much. It was the openness really with the education system here, how you're free to speak up, you're free to challenge the status quo and just really express yourself as you want to.
Thanks, Chioma. That's very insightful.
Okay, so if I can, isn't it, do you want to come after, or should I go after Chioma to talk about culture?
Yeah, I can go after you.
Okay, nice. So for me, right, culture is actually a big one, really. And perhaps maybe for like someone that's schooled in Nigeria, then I worked for quite a long time. So I worked for 8 years in Nigeria before I thought about MBA program. So moving over here, one is in terms of communication. So so there's what they call communication style. So over in particularly in Canada or North America, they are a bit more low context. So in Nigeria, it's easier for you to talk with people, and because you guys share the same cultural context, you kind of like assume that people know a lot of things or should have known a lot of things really. But here, like a lot of people actually not coming from your shared cultural background, so you need to break things down a lot. Then also you understand the part of diction or like intonations and all that really. So the way they communicate is not necessarily the way we talk. So for them to really understand you, you need to perhaps stress more your words. You might have to speak slower. Then you just need to enunciate more. Then to also understand that
Can we all hear Said, or is it just me?
I can't hear him, and I think his network.
Yeah, his internet went off.
Oh, okay.
my is it better now? Just wondering.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm actually I traveled also. I'm in Quebec City, so but I hope it gets better. All right, so like I said, I was talking about low context communication and why that might be different from what we practice in Nigeria, which is high context in most places in Africa and in the Asia. So yeah, you have to break your communication down a lot for people to understand you. And I'm wondering if you guys can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. So communication is very important. Break things down for people and not say more. But also understand that you are just who you are. So not any bad feelings about the fact that past me people are not necessarily able to understand you very well. So you have to continue practicing, but it surely gets better.
Thanks, Said. That was very good.
So I think for me, I'm going to speak more to what Choma said about, them encouraging confidence. I realize that in a lot of Nigerian private companies, confidence is key, and they tell you should be confident and blah blah blah. But what they don't tell you is you should be confident as long as you're not disagreeing with them. But then one thing I notice here is the confidence goes a long way, whether you're disagreeing or whether you're agreeing with people. Like people are actually, especially people in leadership that I've worked with here, are very curious to know what you think and are very curious to see how you challenge their opinions. And so confidence in this case, whether or not you're disagreeing, goes a long way. And so it's kind of, for me, it was like a confirmation bias, not a shock. It was more like, okay, this is something that I was fighting with in Nigeria, whether to be confident in airing my views with them or not. And then here, they actually encourage it. So that was something that didn't shock me, but sort of, encouraged who I was already.
Yeah, I mean that's really helpful. It's nice to hear various perspectives to moving from Africa and Nigeria to the various locations we are and how we're able to deal with that new reality. But then just to build off of what Sahid said, ha have we had any situation where just by virtue of the way you speak, people, I mean, as Said had mentioned how his accent and all that, have you had issues where, just your tone or the way you pronounce words, I mean, you had to struggle with trying to say things in a way that people could comprehend you properly? Have you had this kind of challenges um, so far in your journey, wherever you are? This could be for
Okay,
Chioma.
let me especially be more on that, Chooks. Yeah, so and I think it's something that would happen really. The point is the way you communicate is just not. And I think, and this can apply. This would apply to, I would say, most people coming from our background. Like it's just the context where we're coming from. Now the good part of it is that yeah, also people are actually willing to hear from your own point of view. They really want to get your own ideas. So never because of the fear that, oh, maybe if I speak, they won't hear me very well, or maybe because I have one accent or the other, then I should maybe keep saying and probably hold back. Always hear your view, like always share your point of view, like, and they're actually very patient, like, so just always, but definitely it's something you need to work on, particularly for interviews. Yeah.
Can we still hear Said? Okay. I think it was okay.
Okay, Chooks.
Yeah, thanks, Sahid.
This fluctuates, yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone want to chime into what? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so I can see. All right. So again, so that would happen. It's just a different cultural context. At times you miss your friends, or you might miss your family members. The cultural setting back home is different and all that. Yeah. But there's also a lot of bright aspects to it. So there's going to be some cultural differences. Some might eat you, particularly when you just come. So when you just come or land abroad, likely going to get in love with the environment and with new facilities, meeting new friends and all that. But over time, you are going to miss some things. Accept it as part of the experience. But clearly, just keep your mind focused on why you are here and yeah, and go for it. But again, it's very important that, like, Leslie just mentioned, the confidence. Like, don't ever think, oh, because maybe I have some particular way of saying some words that some people are not really very comfortable about, or that they don't find easy. Try to improve.
Oh wow.
More, but always.
Yeah. Said, is it possible to do anything to your connection? I don't know, because it seems we keep losing
Okay,
you
so
intermittently.
all right, so I will do something else. Don't worry, I will do something else.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, does any of our panelists want to chime into what I asked, what Said was talking about? Do you want to say anything, chip in anything to what has been said already?
Yeah, yes. So the Said mentioned something about low context, and I think maybe to how I understand it is that, and it's something. Yes, that's one cultural shock for me. It's that, for instance, when I came here newly, if I wanted to send an email, maybe apologizing for not joining a meeting or not being able to make a meeting, I would say, hey, so sorry, I'm not able to make this meeting, blah, 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 blah happened, and then blah, blah, blah happened. And I would give all the excuses and try to explain and explain. And I stayed with my sister for like a month, and she's like, oh my God, like, it's just too much. Like, it's not necessary. Like, why are you explaining your life to these people? Just say, hey, I'm sorry I can't make the meeting for family reasons or personal reasons, and that's it. So I find that, like, in Nigeria, we have to over explain because we feel like the more we explain, the more mercy we would get, or the more understanding or whatever. But here, just like, and it makes things so easy because you don't have to explain too much, and they will understand and move on. So a lot of things that we overthink and overbeat ourselves up for, I find that here is just like really simple, and you don't have to overthink it. And so it's really relieving.
Thanks, Izumi. Chema, any thoughts?
Yeah, my experience is similar to what Said was saying. I know his internet was a bit sketchy, but I got part of what he was saying. And it's in terms of enunciating your words properly. When I first came here, I speak quickly, like I'm a fast talker. In Nigeria, it didn't matter because we all talk the same. So what's case, you just speak to pidgin and everybody still understands you. But right here, where is a different communication, they have different ways of expressing themselves. They use different words and everything. It was, I knew that me talking fast would not really fly. And of course, I was repeating for consulting, casing a lot. So I needed to express myself in a way that they would understand the point I was trying to make. So that was the first thing I had to learn. And some people come in and try to switch their accent and do different things, just try to Americanize the way they talk. And I learned that it's not about that, but that is about pronouncing your words, paying emphasis to the consonants, making sure that every single word lands and not just rolling everything together the way we typically do back home in Las Didi, where I come from. So I think that was the biggest thing I had to learn in terms of communicating. And I also tried to explain myself well, like try to get the point across. An American, for example, would use one single word that would convey a word that would typically use 10 words to convey. I learned to be more concise in my communication and also to pronounce my words very well and carefully.
Absolutely. Communication is very important in a new environment. Having to correctly express your thoughts in a way they will understand it is very critical. My next question, building off what we have just talked about, is so beyond trying to integrate via communication. So were there any things you had done? So because you are like a minority in a new country, so did you take any concerted steps to integrate your community? So like, did you try to attend events just to, kind of participate with your classmates with a view of building some form of communal relationship with people in your cohorts or your classmates? Like, what things did you do to try to integrate properly with your people beyond communication?
I think for us, our class is really small. And so before the summer, before we joined the class, we all got together and formed some kind of group and started reaching out to each other based on our interests and our professional aspirations. And so we already started forming. It felt like it didn't feel like I was minority. It didn't feel like I was just coming from Nigeria. It just felt like a lot of people who had been affected by COVID but wanted to go to school. And so we all shared that common interest. And because of that, we found ourselves in the same situation where like we were desperate to reach out to people and to form communities. And so before we started the term, we all got together into like different groups of interest. And then when we came to Cambridge, it was a lot easier to just socialize and meet everybody because you'd been talking for about 3 months before you even joined.
Thanks, Ezine.
Okay, for me, I arrived campus late because, like you would know, Chooks, Samuel, we started classes online and then we arrived much later. And in my experience, by the time I got on campus, most people had formed their cliques or groups or whatever you call it, right? Most people had formed friendships, they were already moving around together. And here I was from Nigeria. And I was one of the first Nigerians that actually got, the first West African that actually got here. It was a bit difficult. I was tempted to stick with people that I knew, that's people from Nigeria. I was tempted to live in a Nigerian community, just hang around with only Nigerians. But I realized that I came to get a global MBA for a reason. First, I needed to understand the culture of people from other parts of the world and everything. So one deliberate effort I took, I'm an introvert. I'm not really one to go out of my way or hang out in all the bars to meet people. But one thing I did to help that happen for me was to live close to where the main class was. So I left where the Nigerians or Africans would typically live. I went to live right in the heart of the MBA program. And I was trying to set up chance opportunities to meet the rest of my classmates and get to meet them. And bear in mind that classes were hybrid and classes were mostly online, so we didn't have that in-person interaction. My way of facilitating that in-person interaction was going to live right where they were and just meeting people in the hallways, meeting people in the corridors, hanging out by the pool, by the clubhouse, just to get to know people. This was one deliberate effort I took to meet the rest of my classmates. Virtual is not for me. The Zoom hangouts and happy hours were not really working for me, and I took that as another alternative.
Thanks, Chairman. That's really insightful. Is Said back, or is he still trying to figure out his connection?
Okay, Chip. So I am back. So I'm doing
Right.
is
Awesome.
Yes, I guess I'm back. But I don't want to use the video because of the connection, because of the weak connection.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you want to chime into the question? And so beyond communication, like how did you try to consciously integrate with your classmates or cohorts?
Okay, so I'll take it off from where Chima stopped. And so that's a very important question, really. And now I'm also saying this. One of the MBA program is going to be the richness of the curriculum. Like a lot is going to come from your network or how much community you are able to build around yourself. So, and that brings into focus the importance of extracurricular activities and the socials. So, and in a lot of how you're going to build friendships or know people is actually going to be outside of the classroom, really. If you really want to get to know people intimately, then you need to do a lot of the, and there's going to be a lot of that, really. Perhaps it's hiking, it's like maybe like attending some pub program at some point. You necessarily don't have to, like, so for instance, myself, I actually do not take alcohol, really. I know most people do, but it still doesn't stop me from attending the pubs, really. So I go there, grab whatever I can take. But essentially, the intention is to be in a free environment where you can interact freely with others, then get to know more about them. So those things are going to be very important, really, and it's just going to be, and it doesn't really show how much like why you're still on the program, because you are personally like you have like a couple of months or to interact with each other, but soon enough, the program is going to be over, and it's going to be very important how much community you're able to make. So please participate in all the activities. Do the competitions, I forgot what they call them. Like go for the competitions, attend the social gatherings and all that. Really participate and speak up, really, and just participate. Be active. Yeah, it's going to pay off. It's worth it. It's also a very intensive program. That's the truth. So You also have to balance it. As much as we are not chasing after maybe just it's a very intensive program. So we're sure to participate in the socials.
Yeah, thank you so much, Said. I think one thing that I hear across our speakers is one should participate in activities, and then one should consciously build interactions or relationships with classmates, because that is helpful during your time in the MBA program. My next question is on a different topic now, so I want to move to recruiting. For most of us, MBA candidates going to MBA programs across, we want to get those dream jobs that we have wanted to. I mean, that's like the primary objective for most people for coming to the MBA program. So my question is, as an international student, how did you manage to navigate recruiting season? And what were the tips and tricks that enabled you to succeed in landing those juicy jobs that you have, or those internships that you have gotten currently? And anyone could shoot first.
No, I think Said may be talking. I'm not sure.
Okay. I was actually thinking, Izine wants to go first. Yeah, let's hear from you.
Okay. Because my program is a 1-year program, I kind of had to start looking at jobs and talking to people really early. So I started reaching out to people before I joined. Thankfully, as I said earlier, the people in my class, we were really small, and so during the summer we had already formed like interest groups, so to speak, and we were already helping each other like practice for the kind of interviews of companies that we wanted to work with, etc. So one of the things I did during the summer before joining was to form case groups among my friends, and we had like case interviews and stuff. But I wasn't really recruiting for consulting. I was recruiting for non-tech roles in tech companies, and so we were interviewing on like product marketing, product strategy, etc. And so this really helped us during recruitment season, which was in the first term between September and December. It really helped us because we already had an idea of how to prepare. And so when recruitment season came, we didn't really struggle because we had done this in the summer. So I guess the takeaway for me was that it was a lot easier, preparing before I joined the class, because I wasn't under a lot of pressure to, do mock interviews when I started recruiting. So it really helps to maybe prepare early if you have an idea of what you want to do. And if you don't have an idea of what you want to do, or you have a lot of options available to you, then it just helps to research and get a lot of information on the things you're interested in, so that when you actually have an opportunity to work on projects related to those things, you come with some kind of knowledge before you start working.
Thanks, isn't it?
Sorry, are you going next? Should I jump?
Sure, please, yeah, before it.
Okay. Isn't it, as you were speaking, I was just laughing at myself. I did the opposite of what you did. I didn't prepare one bit in summer. I was working all through. I think I quit my job in September, and I had a high intensity job, like fully hands-on, long hours, crazy. And there's an overlap between.
I must add that I had the opportunity to quit early.
Yeah.
That's why, disclaimer.
Good for you. So, okay, so I'm going to share another perspective of one of the people that came into B school totally unprepared for business school. I think I did my first case in November or so, but anyway. So the question was, how did you prepare for recruiting? Like I said, I started preparing late, but I think I ramped up fast, even though I took more of a fire brigade approach. So it was a fire drill. My idea was read up all the casing materials possible, do a lot of back-to-back cases, do a marathon, and get ready. What really helped me was I leveraged my classmates. I leveraged people that already had a good number of cases behind them, did a lot of cases with diverse people, classmates, people in firms I wanted to interview with. I did the whole I don't think I should be saying that, but I knew what I wanted. I wasn't really ready to budge from what I wanted. I'm happy it worked for me. It's not a good approach, but it worked, thankfully. But I tried to case with people like this friend I was interested in, tried to case with classmates, read up a lot of materials, attended all the sessions. And one other thing that really helped for me was actually researching what people like these friends really do. Because it's one thing to say you want to be a consultant, but what do these consultants really do? And how would your experience or interest fit into what they do? In doing that, it also helped me craft my own story. When I first came in, I was just networking randomly, networking with people, just, oh, you're a consultant, you work at this firm, and I'll just try to jump in a networking session with you. But the more I understood what consultants really did, and the more I actually tried to relate it back to my experience and where I wanted to go, it helped me craft my story. And my recruiting became more deliberate. It became more about, okay, this is what I have to offer your firm, and this is what you're doing. Connect me with people with similar experiences that I can talk to, and that really helped me a lot. Yeah, so casing, networking with the right people, and then leveraging all the resources you have at your disposal were the most helpful.
Awesome. Thanks, Chairman. Said?
Okay, so I think you guys, I think the Isn't and Chuma already touched on the most important points. So casing is very key. Networking. I guess the next one I would add is perhaps maybe like having an idea of what you want. So, because what that does is help you to narrow down your approach. So both in terms of how you prepared and also the kind of people you should reach out to. So one thing that will help you is if you start early. So I think my case is very similar to Chima's case. So I actually went to work like the day I left Nigeria. Like I was, yeah. So I my flight was around 7 p.m. Then I went to work that particular day and I left work around 2 p.m. Like, so I worked like the last minute. I wouldn't recommend that. So try and yeah, I think it's something you should focus on it earlier, like be more attentive to the program. It's a lot of opportunities, particularly if you can take your time to really plan out what you want, because it also allow you to start reaching out to people. Now, so why I say you should know what you want is because, so if you have an idea of the kind of industry that you want, where you want to work, at times things are not cast in stone. So maybe you might actually get on the program and think that, oh, maybe you actually thought about doing investment or finance initially, but maybe on the program you're more excited about consulting or about something else or about operations or something. So that can be possible. But generally, if you have an idea of maybe broadly what you want, so it's actually possible reaching out to people right from Nigeria, even before you travel. Like, hey, so I'm like, man, incoming MBA can be at this school, like curious about your work, and blah blah. I can book coffee chats. So that helps a lot. You already have a network, because one of the things that will shock you when you leave Nigeria is that you need to build your professional network from ground up. Like you just like miss your entire, like, for the career that we built over time, and that for all the people, for all the contact and network you've had. So when you travel, when you leave that context, you're kind of like just building ground up all the way again. So one thing you struggle with is how to build that network from the ground. So if you start the earlier you start, the better. So start enough or reach out to people. Don't wait on, you're going to get a lot of career support from the schools, but you necessarily don't have to wait on that. Really, you can actually can do a lot reaching out on your own. And yeah, and people are actually open, like kind of just a culture that encourage people to reach out, network. Then casing is very important, because the point is when those opportunities come for you to attend interviews, then you should be able to kill those interviews. So yeah, so do cases, practice, and it helps a lot really. And the good thing about it is that if you're in that frame of mind already, then it's easier for you to just maintain that momentum, then to take on further opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Said. That's super insightful. I think one thing that I heard across all speakers is knowing what you want, and then knowing how you would then achieve that goal or that ambition that you have. But I have a question of what has been said. So some people go to the MBA program to kind of discover themselves, like to figure things out. Like they just go, and probably after the 1 year or 2 years, they then kind of know what they want to do post the MBA. So my question is, do you think it is always best practice, or it's always important to know what you want before you go into the program, or you could just go into the program and then figure things out as you go along. I mean, this is putting in mind that we are international students here, and I mean, would you advise to figure things out later, or to always have the goal at the beginning?
Okay, so let me jump in. So before I left Nigeria, I was kind of open-minded. So my background was finance. So I was looking at finance really, but when I joined the MBA program, then I had some kind of exposure to marketing, to data analytics, to strategy, and a couple of other interesting areas. So I was really excited to know what those guys do. Really, back in Nigeria, I never really knew what marketing was. The way marketing and content is also different from marketing. Really, I think it's a lot more scientific here. So, but in terms of positioning yourself thereafter, it's also a very competitive environment. Really, there are lots of talents like from all over the world. So you just need to like kind of put your best foot forward. So in so many cases, for you to be competitive for full-time roles and all that, then it's also not impossible that you might also do something where your experience can also be a leg up for you. But that doesn't mean that you cannot switch roles. But it's really difficult for you to switch geography, to switch industry, and switch roles at the same time. Really, at times people want you to have some bit of, you should have some bit of connection to what you wanted to do. So for instance, let's say you worked in Canada for a long time and you want to switch from, for instance, from finance to consulting. Maybe that's my, but if you're coming from Africa, you've worked all your life in finance, and you just want to like switch everything up at the same time, switch geography, switch roles, switch. At times you might really find it difficult or really competitive because there are a lot of people from it. So they might have people that they don't have to, and particularly if you are also going for experienced opportunities and not entry-level opportunities. So putting your best foot forward might also mean that you want to leverage what you had or what you've done before.
Side. Does anyone want to chip in? Okay.
Yeah, I can chip in quickly. I agree with everything Said said. And I also want to add that from the perspective of an international student, right? It's okay to come in. I know classmates who have come in not knowing what they want to do and they figured it out during the MBA. But from an international student perspective, we need to also understand that the pipeline sort of is a bit narrower for us. We do not have as many opportunities as a domestic student would have. And when you look at it critically, you're limited to only a few industries. So really, what are your options? So it helps to start targeting these firms early enough, as we have established already. So it may help to actually have an idea or start targeting some things before you come in. My point is, it's okay to figure things out here. Like Said said, nothing is cast in stone. You can switch a bit. But also bear in mind that the opportunities are limited and there are many people struggling for these limited opportunities as an international student. So put that in perspective as you decide.
Thanks, Choma.
Yeah, totally agree with what Choma said. Honestly, it's fine, but the fact that we're international students sort of adds a very huge limitation because our time is capped and so are the opportunities. So you have to work more efficiently than the average person. And this is because when they graduate, they can stay for as long as they want to figure out what they want. But then when you graduate, you may have to go back to your country. So you need to see if you can figure it out early and get opportunities as early as possible so that you don't spend your entire MBA year like anxious about what's happening after.
Awesome. Thanks, isn't it? And I think the common theme across our speakers is that it's for us international students, it's important to have the head start of starting early, to identifying what you want to do. It's okay to tweak along the line, but it's always imperative to have at least an idea of what you want to do from the onset so that you don't get stuck towards the end. So that will then take us to our next topic. I just want to add that if anyone has a question, please feel free to post in the comment section so that we could take these questions later on. So we're now on the lifestyle topic, and my question now is, living in a new country and having to deal with possible societal vices like racism, microaggression, and all sorts. How are you able to navigate those settings or those situations? How are you able to deal with those vices that might be prevalent in your society?
I can start, and because Cambridge is so, I don't know if you guys know like a lot about Cambridge versus Oxford. Cambridge has a much smaller Black community or African community generally, and the MBA class is, we're just about 4 or 5 Africans in a class of 170 something. So anyway, I think for microaggressions, honestly, it depends on who it's from. So if it's there are certain people who I'll give it back to. I'm sorry, because like I know that this is something that a lot of people have complained about and it's regular. So if you say something ignorant, maybe about where I'm from or about something that relates to Black people, I will educate you there and then. But then if it's someone who I don't know, I haven't met, I will try to be compassionate about like saying, oh, I actually don't agree with you, and telling you, what's up. But yeah, again, it depends on who it's from. And then for like racial slurs, I haven't really experienced a lot of that here, thankfully. But I know that it does help because you're a minority here, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't acknowledge, is that you leave Nigeria where you're the shit, and then you come here and you're a minority, and it's like nobody can hear you or see you, and it's a huge struggle. So I think it really helps to find community, to find like your own people, whether they are fellow Nigerians or they could even be like people from the country in which you live. It's just really important to find a community that is willing to listen to you, that you can, you know just say what's on your mind. And a lot of the times, once you find your community, they really help, because everybody is experiencing similar things in different ways, and so they can help you and they can relate with you. So it really helps to just have people you're talking to, so you don't bottle every little microaggression in and then it comes out in really aggressive ways.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I agree totally with Izine. It's a constant battle between, oh, should I educate them with an emphasis on educate,
Yes.
or should I just let them go and move on with my life? So it's a constant battle. And like Izine said, it's about finding your own people, finding your community. Like I said, you're coming from Nigeria. Like there's 200 million Black people there. I never knew I was supposed to feel different or because of my skin color. But the more you come here, the more you realize that, okay, people actually think that there's something wrong with this color and it's not acceptable in any way. You need to let them know that. At the same time, what I try not to do is, one thing I've had to learn rather is to try not to, how do I put this now, saying as this is like, okay, so I just try to be open-minded still, try to learn, try to understand all the nuances behind people's communication and judge it for what it is. So I try not to judge. For example, when somebody looks at me funny, these days, I'm always like, is the person looking at me this way because I'm Black? Is the person already suspicious of me or something? But I just try to, okay, that's the person. That's what the person is thinking. It doesn't have to reflect on me in any way. And I keep doing my thing until you cross my space and try to, really blatantly treat me in a different way because I'm supposed to be different. And I tell you, okay, no, this is me. So that's it. Just have an open mind.
Thanks, Chioma.
Okay, Shooks, I think I'll just a bit to contribute in that. So, and it is true, really. Maybe for the first time, so before coming for the MBA program, I'd traveled before, let's say for vacation and all that. And it's different, right? So no matter how much, let's say just go to Dubai or just go to London or just go to Singapore for vacation for a week and all that, and sleep in hotels and come back. It's different, right? It's like when you really relocate, the truth is it's gonna jump in your face. Like for the first time, you're really going to know that, or are you feeling kind of like you're different from others, really? You're a Black person. And really, it's not necessarily going to be pronounced, but there are always contexts where you would feel like you're a Black person, or it might be subtle, it might be, but clearly you are definitely going to experience such. Now, one thing we need to understand is we need to understand, if you analyze the types of power, okay, and this is, I guess, is one of the things that Black people try to do, is um, one is power that derives from competence or your capabilities. So one of the things, people can disagree with a lot of things, but oftentimes, if you really focus on excellence, really, it will take you past a lot of things. A lot of people still look past that. Really, the point is, some people just don't. Yeah, some people just have that bias against you. They might say it, they might not say it. Take for instance, like, I have a very good relationship with most people on my program, like, and they are very nice people. But there are a couple of guys that if you greet them, they won't answer you. Like, they just kind of like, at least there's someone like that. My program, even my class. So yeah, generally I'm open to people, and but like, so for that particular person now, so the moment I realized that, like, over 1 to 3 cases, so it was just easy for me to just have them be in their own space. The good thing is that I guess there are lots more other people that are actually very open-minded. So the good thing is, those people that have restricted, close mindsets might not be in the majority. So just find comfort in a community that is yours. It's mostly it's gonna be people that looks like you, really, or the people that like Ezene said, like, where you can really say your mind. You won't be surprised. It's still going mostly going to be like, let's say, in the African context, or let's say with other blacks. Also with, but there are a lot of whites also that would be open-minded, particularly you can actually have professional working relationship with. Most of them, you're not going to have relationship that's not going to be professional. So for instance, you can work together for case competitions, for projects and all that. And in most cases, it's not going to go beyond that. Really, it might just be professional, but I'll take like that. You can work with them to drive results, to get what you want. Then you might also want to form a more nuclear community that's not essentially based on your performance. That's just who you are, where you just want to just be yourself and all that. Most likely, it's going to be like a Black community.
Awesome. Thanks, Saeed. But I was telling someone recently that I never knew I was Black till I got here. Like, and I mean, it's amazing how that happens to people. So yeah, I think I would want to look at the comment section just to see any questions that we could answer while we still have the time. So I can see some questions that are largely around recruiting. So the first is, how do coffee chats work? Do you just randomly ask someone from LinkedIn for an appointment? Also, is there a general accepted time for coffee chats? Also, if you're not sure what area you want to venture into post MBA, how do you now tell a compelling story in your application? It seems that's like a 3-in-1 question. So I don't know who wants to take this, because it seems like a very tough question to ask.
Okay, I think I should go first because I did a lot of coffee chats. So, and I know the questions, there are like 2 or 3 questions, but I know the first one is about coffee chats.
Right.
So coffee chats, and okay, so it's also one of the differences from my own culture, really. There wasn't, I can't remember reaching out to anybody for coffee chats in Nigeria, Nigeria. So, but yeah, it's clearly what things, really, and people are just open to it, really. So please take advantage of coffee chats. You can reach out to anybody through coffee chats. And while past 1 year that everything went virtual, so it was really easy to, through LinkedIn. It doesn't mean that there are no challenges. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be like just an easy ride. So for instance, you might reach out to a lot of people and they will not respond to your message. That's a lot of people will actually ignore your message. But that's fine, the process. It's possible that you reach out to 100 people. So of those 100 people, it might be 40 people or 30 people that will respond or that will be willing to have a coffee chat with you. Of the 30 people, it might be 5 of them that will go on to be a sponsor subsequently. When I say sponsor, people are like, oh, if you see an opportunity, please reach out to me, like, and they'll be willing to put like stand for you, like anywhere. But the point is that it's a process that will allow you to interact with a lot of people, and it's potentially something you should leverage. You can reach out to people in any organization of your choice. It also works or fits into if you really don't know what you want yet. So reach out to people in, let's say, all the adjacent industries that you might want to reach out, might want to consider, reach out to them. So, but always tailor it. Like take for instance, I reach out to someone in, let's say, BCG, and I want to talk about consulting. And let's say at the back of my mind, I'm also thinking, oh, maybe it's even asset management I want to do, or maybe it's even operations or marketing. So, but while I'm speaking to someone that's into consulting, my best bet is to talk about consulting with that person, even though maybe at the back of my mind, I still have like some second thought of some other things I still want to do. But make sure your coffee chat is focused to the person you are talking to, and you don't necessarily have to make it very complex. So that you have to maybe just ask simple question. Ask about. I can see my internet is not stable.
Yes,
I know this.
breaking.
Yeah, I can see that one's breaking. Yeah, but again, so the point I was making is don't make it complex. Just tell them about yourself, ask them what they do, share with them why you are thinking about the industry, and let's say they have any advice for you or what. Just like make it simple. Then, particularly for the first conversation, don't tell them you're looking for a job immediately. Like, try to build a conversation, like, try to build that relationship with them. Then, subsequently, like, you can then follow up, like, when you see an opportunity and all that. So yeah, but at times, like I mentioned, and also goes into the way they communicate here. There's what they call structured communication, or so be frontal about, be clear about the goal of the chat. Like when you start, just starting the chat, tell them why you are speaking with them, like what you want to get out of the conversation. Is it that you're looking for work, or is it that you want them to refer you to other people? Is it that you just want them to advise you? Again, go straight to the point. Like if you really want a job or if you really want them to recommend you for roles or for opportunities, tell them you actually want this.
Yeah, thanks, Said. Does anyone want to add anything?
Yeah. Okay, just a few points to that. I would add prioritize quality over quantity. It's a cliche here, but it's true. Do not just schedule coffee chat with everybody just because you feel you want to have a little touch points, because they may forget you if the chat is not quality enough. So prioritize quality. Try to reach out to people that you can actually. So okay, let me start. Try not to make it a robotic Q&A session where you have a list of questions that you Googled and you just shooting questions back and forth. Make it really organic if you can. Sometimes it's not easy, but if you can. In terms of is it a good time to schedule coffee chat, what I would do is to ask the person I want to have the chat with to send me a list of slots that works for them, yeah, and then I pick something within one of those slots. And in terms of not knowing what you want to venture into post MBA, how do you tell a compelling story? I would personally talk about my passion. But I knew I wanted to do consulting, but I would say at some point I wasn't really sure when consulting I wanted to play in what space, because consulting, depending on the firm you're in, they might have some different specializations, right? What I did was try to talk about my passion. What are you passionate about? What's that thing that awakens you, that makes you talk endlessly? I think that helped me. The more I spoke with consultants and even admission committee about my passion, the more they even helped me figure out where this passion would be best applied.
Thanks, Chairman. Isn't it any thoughts or?
Yeah, I think for coffee chats, the one thing I'm going to add is try to find people who you have something in common with, because that can help with starting the conversation in a comfortable way, and it helps you skip the entire awkward part of like you guys don't know anything about each other and stuff. So if it's maybe you have an interest in a school, or you both went to high school in the same place, or you both lived in Lagos or something, you can start it by saying, hey, I'm this. I saw that you maybe schooled in this place, and I'm actually really interested in this. I wanted to know if you have some time to discuss about blah, blah, blah. So it really helps to have something in common with the person, because that's, that makes you not really stand out, but it helps you not to be just one of those people who text them. And for the other question about if you don't know what you want to do, how do you structure your applications? What Choma says, honestly, make the focus yourself and your current experience. And if there's any similarity between it and something close to what you want to do, then highlight that. But make them know that even if you're considering different options, you actually have a wealth of experience to succeed in whatever it is you eventually decide to do.
Thanks, Izini. There's another question in the chat that says, we always hear about how rigorous and challenging the MBA program is. For people who are in relationships, how can one balance it without letting that aspect of your life suffer because you're always busy? Does anyone want to try to answer this question?
I think I will bow out of this one because I will leave it to the people in successful relationships.
I would say I came here as single as a dollar bill, right? However, there's still other kinds of relationships, including your family. There was a time talking to my family was a challenge because Nigeria is 5 hours behind or ahead of Eastern time. And it's about being deliberate. It's about everything that has to do with an MBA is about being really deliberate. In my opinion, an MBA is a juggling act. And if any single one falls completely to the ground, then have you really had a successful MBA experience? Maybe not. So it's about juggling everything in a way that everything is in balance. It's easier said than done, but it's doable. And that's what we need to try to achieve, that point of equilibrium where you have everything. It's not going to be easy the first few months, I tell you, but with time, you'll figure out what to do.
Thanks, Chema. I'm sorry.
Okay, so for me, so I think that question is, it will be important to know the specific context the person is. So in terms of what kind of relationship are you going to be coming for the MBA program together? Is someone just coming on? So really, I think it will be specific. In my own case, I'm married actually. I'm married like 3 months before the MBA program, before I left Nigeria. So I got a chance to talk with my wife. So now, so it becomes a question of, am I like the typical? So I don't know if my own experience will fit into what the other person said. Other than that, I think in terms of what I see with one of two of my friends is that again, it's a very intensive program, really, and the truth is that you also need to, apart from the intensity of the program, you also need to be free to interact in order to really enjoy the benefit of that program. So for instance, even my wife would know that. So like I mentioned, we might finish class at, let's say, 9 p.m. Then we need to go to the pub. Perhaps maybe the question is, do you go home to your wife or do you go to the pub to socialize and all that, really? And but again, if you don't do that, then the question is, how much value do you get from the program? How are you really to relate and really get the best of that experience? So it's in such instances that your partner needs to, or your fiancé needs to get a sense of, have some understanding with you, really. But I think it depends on the context, really. You guys should know yourself. It's gonna take some sacrifice. Yeah, but I just think it's context specific.
To add, okay, maybe not to add to what Said said, but to speak to the other part of the question that asks about friendships. I think that's a very important part, because one thing I noticed is when I came here, because you're busy making new friends and you're busy learning about other people, there's a tendency to forget to reach out to your Nigerian friends, and a lot of the time they think like so this is me making excuses for my friends, but like sometimes they don't reach out because they think I'm in class or I'm doing whatever, you get. So I think for me, what helped me was, once I think of you, I just text you to say, hey, like, let's schedule a call. And so I would maybe block out Saturdays to talk to like 5 of my Nigerian friends for hours, and we'll just like catch up. And for like my family, I actually have it in my calendar every Saturday and Sunday to call my parents, because eventually you see that so many things are competing for your time, and these are very important things. And so you have to put them in the calendar as well. At some point, you go beyond, yeah, I'll think of calling my dad, to actually putting it in your calendar to call your dad, because you have to block that time. So it goes from a personal, subconscious effort to an actual intentional effort for you to reach out to your friends to keep the friendships going.
Thanks so much, Said and Izini. That's very helpful. I hope we're able to answer the question that the person asked. I think the final question that I have in the chat is, while MBA internships are very helpful for job search post-graduation, do you advise people to take on other non-internship opportunities like extracurriculars, remote work, geo positions, etc., to build their work experience?
I think my answer here will be really short. As long as it's not tearing you apart, as long as you can focus on your program. And for me, when I came newly, I was involved in a bunch of projects because I was really excited about like the non-tech part of tech companies, and so I was involved in a lot of like tech related projects, extracurricular activities with the Cambridge tech team. And this was solely because I wanted to soak myself in that area and understanding better for my recruitment. But then apart from that, I think yeah, it's just, it really helps. I'm sorry, my laptop is doing something. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. Can you guys hear me properly?
Yes, you are clear, isn't it?
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. I can hear you. So yeah, I was saying, as long as those things are not taking all your time and making your days crowded, and because it gets to a point where you're so busy that you become inefficient and you're giving 100 things limited quality efforts, and then it's of no use. So it helps to prioritize and then pick the things that are of interest to you and will not make your MBA suffer and your relationships suffer. So as long as it doesn't tear you apart, then I would say go for it, but also know your limits.
I agree
Awesome.
with Izini. Yeah, I agree with Izini. In as much as I said before that an MBA is a juggling act, you need to be juggling the right things. And if it's not adding to your growth, if it's not adding to your path, if it's not a priority, really, then really know what to add to your plate and what to take out of it.
Great.
Yeah, I think they said it all right. So so there are different priorities. You just need to balance it. You need to just focus on the most important ones. Yeah, as much as possible. Really, explore it a lot of different things. Right? But you definitely can't do everything. Really, a lot of things going on at the same time. So prioritize and go for it. So for instance, I apart from my normal internship, I got a chance to also volunteer like a fall intern with a startup in Montreal. I was just curious about technology, and I did a volunteering with a startup. So yeah, on the strategy side of business. So, and it was really beneficial. Really, it was one of the highlights of my MBA program. So if there are things like that can potentially really valuable, you could do it. But ensure it's something you can balance. Yeah. So different fronts, academics, that your relationships and all that.
Great. Awesome. I think I have one final question, just to follow up on what was asked. So most of us that come to MBA programs, we have to quit our jobs and then come for the MBA. So in terms of living expenses and trying to survive, how have you been able to survive for 1 year, 2 years without working? And do you have any tips as for international students like us who would be off work for a couple of months, how best one can survive or cope in these new places that we are going to?
Okay, let me go for it because it's very important. Like you said, like financing is definitely one of the very important aspects to consider. And a lot of people go for loans, really. I think I should start from this. So in terms of the way I prepared for the program, we're actually like three friends that prepared together for the MBA, for our MBA program. So we read for GMAT together, we applied together and all that. So even though we went to different schools, some of my friends went to the school in the US. One went to Wharton, one went to Kellogg, and I came to McGill. So what we did is right from GMAT, because GMAT speaks a lot about how much scholarship you're going to get for your MBA program. So try and really find time for your GMAT really because yeah, so make sure your application is tight because you really want to get every cover, every penny you can get really. It's going to be important if you're going to be leaving work for 1 or 2 years. Next to that is also try and get information. Really, a lot of things also happen in school so for instance, someone just told me last year that my school does this thing about is it called like they have some support for students, for candidates. Not everybody knows that. So I applied in the first instance and they said that, oh no, at that point that they can't give me any subventions, any free subventions. That was just a loan that they could extend to me. So I got a loan. But just towards the end of the program, they actually gave me a bursary of almost close to 10K. And I didn't even know about it. So, but if I didn't speak to people that told me about that, there was no way I was going to know about that. So information is very important. Try and get particularly for the leading schools, like they usually do have a lot of financing options that a lot of people do not know about really. And just be open about it and apply for whatever it is that you can apply for. Accommodation is important. You want to balance price and other things in accommodation. So for instance, you don't want to stay too far from where you're able to interact and have the rich MBA experience. Then also you don't spend too much because it's also one of the most expensive living expense that you have to cope with here. So try and do that. In my own part, so my wife worked. She was able to work, so we were able to balance it together. So, for instance, I pay some part of the bills, and she pays some other part of the bills. So, in my own case, the specific three source of financing is personal savings. I got some loan, then scholarship bursary. Like so, for instance, my entry scholarship was around 50% of the tuition, and yeah, so I had to pay the rest. So I got some loan to support that. Then I also support some of my savings. I forgot to mention also the internship. Yeah, the summer internship is also some source of income for you to support yourself during the program. But go for it. Like, don't allow. I know that financing is not what should, particularly if your mind. And another thing to also consider is the post MBA job prospects, and that's one of the reasons why you want to ensure that in terms of the brand name of the school you are going to, then also the let's say immigration laws and all that, and how we're able to work after school. Always consider those things.
Thanks, Said.
I think for me, I got a few scholarships from Cambridge, but these didn't they weren't directed towards my living expenses. So a lot of the money I spend for my living expenses come from my very big family. Um, I have three elder sisters, and that really helps a lot. And it also helps to cry to my parents once in a while. But yeah, I think for a lot of the other Nigerians here, it's almost the same situation. It's getting money from relatives and loans. A couple of us did get a lot of scholarships, but for a couple of other people, they had to supplement the tuition and the scholarships with loans. So the tuition part is usually handled by supplemental loans, but then the living expenses part is something that I'm not sure if you can take loans for that. I know in Cambridge, my colleagues couldn't, but it really helps to maybe, I don't know, take some kind of loans from somewhere for living expenses or use personal finance and at some point get an internship. Because I know that for a lot of my friends in the US, for the towards the end of their second year, it was their internships that really helped in, paying their rent and everything. So this is something that you may want to factor in when you're thinking of your finances.
Thanks, Isn't
Yeah, same. For me, it was a combination of loan, scholarships, and personal savings for the first year. The second year now would be more loan, of course, more scholarship, and then internship money. And the reason for this is because I'm going to factor in travel. To me, it's part of my education. I'm not going to compromise that for anything. So I'm factoring that into the cost of my schooling. And that's why I'm still trying to, but yeah, it's about budgeting, knowing what matters to you, and just trying to explore all the options you have to fund the things that matter to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chima. So I think at this point, we're coming to the end of today's session. Just as we are about to conclude, just on our panelists, do you have any few words you want to leave the audience with? Anything we should just hold on to as we start to navigate our various journeys across different countries? Anything that you want us to any tip that we should just hold on to after now?
I think the first thing and the only thing, honestly, I would say is when you come, there's the shock of being a minority, but don't focus on it. Don't let it limit your experience. You are not disadvantaged. I wouldn't say you're not disadvantaged anyway, but I mean, don't focus on that. Just, put yourself out there, ask people for coffee chats. I mean, like your actual classmates for walks, and reach out to people, throw yourself in there and try to, get information on what's going on and relate with people who are different from you. Just be as open as possible and give people the benefit of the doubt, because there's a tendency for every interaction to confirm the bias you already have being a minority. Try not to focus on that. It gets really negative really quickly. So try not to focus on that. Try to bring an open mind to conversations. Try to be curious with conversations. Try to contribute and try to ask questions and actually be interested in other people, just as you would want them to be interested in you and where you come from.
Okay, okay. Oh, isn't it? Hi, Chima, do you want to go next or should I?
I just want to quickly say, totally agree with everything Izina said. I also want to add that an MBA is not an easy ride. People have said it, but it's true. It's not an easy ride means that there's so many things you have to deal with, so many things will come your way, the microaggressions you already talked about, financing, funding, where am I going to get this money from? And then you get over to recruiting, and then you wonder, okay, am I really cut out for this? 2 days before I got my offer, I said to my friends, you know what? I'm no longer recruiting for consulting. I'm done. I'm doing something. Maybe even go back to my previous job. That was okay. Other things to come out. Even when you do get the job, there will come the imposter syndrome. There will so many things to come your way. It's not an easy ride. If it were easy, it wouldn't be this much of a big deal. But it's doable and it's worth it in the end. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Chima.
Yeah, okay, just to add a point, and I think Chima and the engineers have done justice to that. So develop the MBA is also not just in the short term, like it's not in the next 1 or 2 years. It's also kind of like a long-term investment. So that we have to bear that in mind. So the aspect of the personality, the point is that, yeah, so the experience might challenge you very profoundly. So in the sense that you might actually begin to rethink your own social relationship, like your social person or your own identity or your leadership potentials. Like it's to question a lot of things that you've assumed about yourself or who you are. Like it's question you fundamentally. accept it. Yeah, don't be anything by it. Push on in a very important way. Just know you are who you are, really, and never be sorry about yourself. Like always do your best. Let's put in your best. Always put in your best foot forward, and really you will shine eventually. Like just allow your personality to shine eventually. Yes, try to improve because it's a different context really, and it's just normal because it's a context where you are new to. A lot of the things we learn or part of our competence growing up is the culture where we worked. So because of changing context and all that, so a lot of things will change. But just embrace it and lean into that challenge and go forward. But I think it's worth it. Yeah, it's an amazing experience.
Thank you so much to our panelists. This has been a very informative and insightful session. And for me, I've gained so much just hearing your experiences across different geographies. And I'm sure the audience also has learned a thing or two from what has been shared. So thank you everyone for attending. Just a reminder that tomorrow we have a session for admits, a webinar by the same time tomorrow, and please endeavor to attend tomorrow's session. Thanks everyone and have a lovely evening. Bye.